A14. Hashtag for future husband, heart heart, subtitle tried. At tonight's conversation, hashtag Verse TV A14B. Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person of the same sex? Could you be with someone who has? Why or why not?
Have you ever? Anyway, so the song that connect Katy Perry sang the song "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It." I messed it up a couple of weeks ago. I was like, she said I kissed a boy and I liked, and I'm no. Her lyric was "I kissed a girl and I liked it." Had a that was its purpose. And I used to playfully sing that I kissed a girl, it was okay. So yes, I kissed a girl, it was okay. And yes, to that question, I have. Oh, that's right, because I changed the question around. I date men. Oh, that is something I can no, I can't say I do that more than 90% of the people, but I can say I've done that more than 90% of my time in the dating world, dating men. I date men. And the way that I asked this question to make it relevant to us in the LGBT community is, have you ever dated someone of the opposite gender? Or that's right, it was a sexual question. Have you ever had sexual relations with a person of the opposite gender? And I definitely I was gonna say I didn't have penetrative sexual connection, but it's like, what is penetrative sexual connect? I was just talking with a friend of mine about that yesterday over a meal. But it's like, what is penetrative? Because at the end of the day, I don't know if it was the tongue kiss. I think it was probably a tongue kiss. Again, I was trying really hard back then, trying really hard to not be gay. And I'll also say, courtesy of tonight's conversation, this is yet another, and I select these cards at random, so they're not all this way, but this is yet another question that is hetero leaning, because gay people, especially gay people my age and older, or I I will say I will just say millennials and older. Us, we have definitely had our answer to that question is we have been with, and in many cases ourselves have been that person to physically engage with a person of the opposite gender. And that's because our generation got the, oh, well, how do you know you're gay? How do you know you're gay if you've never slept with a person of the opposite gender? How do you know? How do you know? And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that we got. And it's like, how do you know if you've never tried? Fortunately, I will say, hallelujah, thank you, mommy. My mom was definitely not that way. My mom was ready for me to come out well before I was ready to come out. I was, cons- I don't know, I do know where the conservative side of me developed, in spite of the fact that my mom was very liberal and open minded and welcoming and loving of all. but I developed my conservative side anyway. So that's why, in spite of the fact that we'd watch a show and my mom would be like, Aaron, you know, you can bring home a woman, bring home a man, whatever, whomever you bring home, I will welcome them with open arms, Aaron. And I did Kev on stage because he said that exact same thing with his wife. He's like, bring home a man, bring home a woman. I don't care. Just come home for Thanksgiving dinner, whatever. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, yes, that is what we need. Gen Z, y'all are getting some good stuff. And yeah, my mom was one of the forerunners, just like I try to be a forerunner for stuff as well, or in the foreground of this step of progress. Good. Thank you, mommy. Yes. And yeah. And if you respond to someone who would ask that question, well, how do you know if you haven't tried? And if your response is, well, how do you know if you haven't tried the other way? Their response would be, no. Well, I was just fortunate to be born into this wonderful way of naturally being. I am just naturally not that way. So there's no reason for you to ask me, how do I know? Because I know that the way that I'm living is the right way. Yet again, people don't even listen to themselves. It's like, pump the brakes, whatever. And when people try to force someone to be someone they're not, particularly romantically, not only are you messing with one person's life, you're messing with two people, because there's also that person's partner who they attempt to try things out with. And as I was writing this, I was like, that's kind of misogyny, particularly when it happens on the gay end, because, or the same gender loving male end, because it's like, so you want this man to try it out with a woman who might be playing with her all, giving her all. And I know what